I wanna know what turns you on.
We're supposed to make it look easy, you know. And in everything we do, we're supposed to smile, and when you don't feel like smiling, there's a lot of that.
So your label mate, R. Kelly, would it be fair to say that he tried to sabotage your career?
If it's a true thing, I mean, it's alleged, which was told to me from a respected program director, and said that this guy was calling radio stations and said, "Yo, this guy, Joe, you need to slow down these records, or I'm not coming to support your show."
What just happened to Joe will forever change how you look at him. He gave us platinum albums. He gave us soul. But behind the soft voice and classic R&B hits was a man quietly being erased.
You know, man, it's a lot of things, some on a personal level. But I think more so for me, it was just time to move on and get with a team that really supported me.
He wasn't fading out. He was being pushed out, from sudden radio blackouts to calls from powerful insiders threatening his career, to a betrayal by an R&B giant that still haunts him today.
You know what? It's funny because I was getting, credible information from PDs and friends of mine as well, that this guy has no idea that these are my friends as well you're talking to.
And now, years later, Joe is breaking his silence. The secrets he's revealing about the music industry will make you question everything you thought you knew. Joe Louis Thomas wasn't supposed to become a household name in R&B. Born in Columbus, Georgia, his destiny seemed written in gospel hymns and church pews rather than platinum plaques and sold-out concerts. When he was just a toddler, his family made the pivotal move to Opelika, Alabama, where his father served as an evangelical minister and his mother helped guide a household of 5 children through the teachings of faith. The Thomas household was a symphony of spiritual music. Gospel melodies drifted through every room, and young Joe found himself naturally gravitating toward the sounds that filled his home.
It really is. I mean, I've experienced quite a bit, just coming from Georgia, being a part of a religious family. Both my parents are ministers.
It wasn't long before he was actively participating in the church choir, his voice blending seamlessly with the congregation as he discovered the power of music to move hearts and souls. But Joe wasn't content to just sing. He picked up the guitar, teaching himself to play with the same dedication he applied to his vocal training. The combination of his natural musical ability and the disciplined environment of his religious upbringing created the foundation for what would become one of the most distinctive voices in contemporary R&B. After graduating high school in 1990, Joe made a decision that would change everything. He packed his bags and headed to New Jersey, leaving behind the familiar comfort of Alabama for the uncertainty of pursuing his musical dreams. Like countless aspiring artists before him, he worked various odd jobs to make ends meet while dedicating every spare moment to his craft. The young man from Alabama wasn't trying to become a star. He was simply trying to survive while staying true to his passion. He continued writing songs and developing his sound, never imagining that his behind-the-scenes work would eventually thrust him into the spotlight. His primary goal was to establish himself as a songwriter, someone who could craft hits for other artists while remaining comfortably in the background. This humble approach to his career would prove to be both his greatest strength and, years later, one of his most significant challenges. Joe Thomas was building something authentic, something rooted in genuine musical passion rather than manufactured industry ambition. Little did he know that this authenticity would eventually put him at odds with the very industry that would make him famous. The meeting that changed Joe's life happened almost by accident. While grinding away at his songwriting in New Jersey, he crossed paths with producer Vincent Herbert, a connection that would prove to be the catalyst for everything that followed. Herbert recognized something special in Joe's work, but it wasn't initially what Joe expected. "I just wanted to do music. I just wanted to be around music," Joe would later reflect. "I was more known as a writer than a singer. My own manager at the time didn't know I sang, so it was on the low. Not purposely, but I wasn't trying to be extra. Hey, I can sing too, check me out. I wasn't pushy or nothing like that. The demo tape that Herbert helped Joe create was intended to showcase his songwriting abilities, not his vocal talents. But when the tape reached the executives at Polygram Mercury Records, they heard something in Joe's voice that he hadn't even been trying to sell them. The label offered him a recording contract, catching Joe completely off guard. This unexpected turn of events revealed something crucial about Joe's character. He wasn't chasing fame or fortune. He was simply following his passion for music wherever it led him. The fact that people discovered his singing ability almost by accident speaks to the organic nature of his talent and the authentic approach he brought to his artistry. His debut album, Everything, was released in 1993, introducing the world to Joe's smooth, soulful voice. The album spawned 3 singles, including I'm in Love, which climbed into the top 10 on the R&B charts. For a debut effort from an artist who hadn't even intended to be a singer, it was a remarkable achievement. However, Joe's relationship with Polygram would be short-lived. After releasing just one project with the label, he made the decision to leave and sign with Jive Records. This move would prove to be instrumental in elevating his career to new heights, but it also marked the beginning of his deeper immersion into an industry that would eventually test his values and artistic integrity. The transition to Jive Records represented more than just a change of label. It was Joe's entry into the big leagues of the music business, where the stakes were higher, the politics more complex, and the pressures more intense than anything he had experienced during his humble beginnings in Alabama or his early days in New Jersey. Joe's sophomore album, All That I Am, released in 1997, marked his transformation from promising newcomer to R&B heavyweight. The project was preceded by his contribution to the soundtrack of Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, where his song, All the Things Your Man Won't Do, became a breakout hit, climbing to number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. This unexpected success created a momentum that carried over to his album, where the track served as the lead single. But it was the follow-up single, Don't Want to Be a Player, that truly established Joe as a force to be reckoned with in the R&B world. The song received additional exposure through the Booty Call soundtrack and was later interpolated by rapper Big Pun on Still Not a Player, demonstrating Joe's crossover appeal and the staying power of his compositions. All That I Am eventually achieved platinum status, solidifying Joe's position in the upper echelon of R&B artists. But his success wasn't limited to his own projects. Throughout the 1990s, Joe was in high demand as a songwriter and producer for other artists, working with legends like Tina Turner, Babyface, and SWV. His songwriting credits included Work for Escape, and he could even be heard providing background vocals on Brandy's Angel in Disguise. The pinnacle of his collaborative success came through his work with pop superstar Mariah Carey. Joe was invited to sing on Thank God I Found You, the second single from Carey's Rainbow album. The song reached number 1 on the Hot 100 and was later certified gold, giving Joe his first number 1 hit and further establishing his credibility across multiple genres. By the year 2000, Joe was ready to make his biggest statement yet. His third album, My Name is Joe, would become the defining project of his career, producing 3 singles that showcased his artistic range and commercial appeal. I Wanna Know reached number 4 on the charts, while Stutter climbed all the way to number 1, giving Joe his first solo number 1 hit. The album's success was unprecedented for Joe, going triple platinum in the United States and achieving platinum status in both Canada and Britain. It remains his best-selling album to this day and earned him Grammy nominations for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance and Best R&B Album, recognition from the industry's most prestigious institution. Joe had reached the mountaintop of R&B success, but as he would soon discover, staying at the peak would prove to be far more challenging than reaching it in the first place. The year 2001 brought continued success with Joe's fourth album, Better Days, which, while not matching the commercial heights of My Name is Joe, still achieved gold status and earned him 2 more Grammy nominations. Joe seemed unstoppable, riding a wave of critical acclaim and commercial success that few R&B artists could match. He had established himself as one of the most consistent hitmakers in contemporary R&B, with a track record that spoke for itself. His fifth album, And Then, arrived in 2003, and this is where the story takes a darker turn that would forever change how we view the music industry's inner workings. For this project, Joe sought collaboration with some of the biggest names in the industry, including production duos Carvin and Ivan, Dre and Vidal, The Underdogs, and most significantly, fellow R&B star and label mate R. Kelly. The partnership with R. Kelly seemed like a natural fit on paper. Both artists were at the peak of their powers, dominating the R&B charts and commanding respect from peers and fans alike. Kelly's involvement brought additional credibility and commercial potential to Joe's project, and the collaboration appeared to be a win-win situation for both artists. Kelly wrote the lead single, More and More, which became a top 20 hit, suggesting that the partnership was indeed a success for everyone involved.
Saying more and more, then after that you want more and more.
The song's success should have been the beginning of another triumphant chapter in Joe's career. He had the hit single, the star power of R. Kelly behind him, and a proven track record of delivering quality R&B music that resonated with audiences. Everything seemed to be aligning perfectly for what could have been his biggest album yet. But then, something inexplicable happened. Joe began to notice a shift in how his music was being received by radio stations across the country. Program directors who had previously embraced his releases suddenly seemed less enthusiastic. Requests for interviews declined. The usual promotional opportunities that had accompanied his previous releases became scarce. What had been a steady climb in his career suddenly seemed to stall, and the reasons why would remain shrouded in mystery for over a decade. The change wasn't gradual, it was swift and decisive, as if someone had flipped a switch that controlled Joe's access to the radio airwaves that had been so crucial to his success. For an artist who had built his career on strong relationships within the industry, the sudden coldness was both bewildering and devastating. It wasn't until 2014 that Joe finally found the courage to reveal what he believed had happened during this crucial period of his career.
So your label mate, R. Kelly, would it be fair to say that he tried to sabotage your career?
If it's a true thing, I mean, it's alleged, which was told to me from a respected program director, and said that this guy was calling radio stations and said, yo, this guy, Joe, you need to start doing these records, or I'm not coming to support your show.
The revelation would send shockwaves through the R&B community and expose the darker side of industry politics that most artists only whisper about behind closed doors. According to Joe, he received information from multiple trusted sources within the industry that R. Kelly had allegedly embarked on a campaign to sabotage his career. The sources claimed that Kelly had personally contacted numerous radio stations across the country, delivering a chilling ultimatum: stop playing Joe's music, or R. Kelly would refuse to participate in any of their events, concerts, or promotional activities. The alleged threat carried enormous weight in the industry. R. Kelly was at the height of his commercial and cultural influence, capable of single-handedly making or breaking a radio station's event lineup. His refusal to participate could mean the difference between a successful concert and a financial disaster for promoters and radio programmers. Despite his public skepticism about the extent of Kelly's alleged influence, Joe couldn't ignore the timing and the dramatic change in his career trajectory. He attributed the alleged behavior to jealousy, though he was careful to maintain that he had never had any personal altercations with R. Kelly and continued to respect his talent as an artist. The psychological impact of these allegations went beyond just career concerns. For Joe, who had built his reputation on authenticity and genuine relationships within the industry, the idea that a fellow artist could wield such destructive power behind the scenes was deeply troubling. It challenged everything he believed about the music business and forced him to confront the reality that talent and hard work might not be enough to sustain a career in an industry driven by politics and power plays. The impact of these alleged actions, whether entirely true or not, seemed to coincide perfectly with a noticeable shift in Joe's career trajectory. The momentum he had built over nearly a decade began to slow dramatically, and the industry that had once embraced him with open arms suddenly felt less welcoming, more calculated, and infinitely more dangerous for an artist who valued integrity over industry games. Faced with what he perceived as industry politics and potential sabotage, Joe made a decision that would define the next phase of his career. Rather than fight a battle he felt he couldn't win within the traditional industry structure, he chose to step back and reassess his priorities. It seemed like the perfect time to take a break from music and explore other business ventures. Joe diversified his interests, investing in real estate, launching an upscale clothing line, and even creating his own brand of tequila. These ventures allowed him to maintain his financial independence while giving him the freedom to approach music on his own terms, without the pressures and politics of major label expectations. When Joe returned to music in 2007 with Ain't Nothing Like Me, it marked his final album with Jive Records. The end of this relationship represented more than just a business decision. It was Joe's declaration of independence from a system that he felt had failed to protect and support his artistry. Following his departure from Jive, Joe embraced the independent route, releasing most of his subsequent projects without major label backing. This decision proved to be both liberating and challenging. On one hand, he had complete creative control over his music and could release projects according to his own timeline and vision. On the other hand, he no longer had the promotional machine and industry connections that had helped propel his earlier successes. Despite these challenges, Joe's independent efforts proved remarkably successful. 4 out of his next 5 albums made it into the top 10 on the Billboard 200 Albums chart, demonstrating that his fan base remained loyal and that quality music could still find its audience even without major label support. His last 2 projects, Bridges in 2014 and My Name is Joe Thomas in 2016, while falling short of the top 10, still managed to reach the top 20 on the Billboard 200. More importantly, his albums consistently remained in the top 5 on the R&B charts, proving that his core audience continued to value and support his artistry. The independent path allowed Joe to maintain his artistic integrity while staying connected to his roots and his fans. But it also raised questions about the long-term sustainability of his career in an industry increasingly dominated by streaming, social media, and youth-oriented marketing strategies. By 2016, Joe found himself at a crossroads that many veteran artists face in the modern music industry. In a revealing interview, he was asked whether My Name is Joe Thomas would be his final album, given references to retirement on one of the album's tracks. His response captured the existential struggle of an artist trying to balance personal fulfillment with commercial success. I love the music 100%, but also I want everybody else to love the music as well, Joe explained. I guess it comes down to if you're not as successful as sales, and you look at the numbers, which can really be a huge impact on whether you want to continue or not.
Everything that he did. I mean, if it's just speaking to someone that I don't know, or the music, of course, the way I dress, the way I present myself. So it's always just about that extra care that I wanted to put into it.
This honest admission revealed the internal conflict that had been building throughout Joe's career. His love for music remained unwavering, but the reality of declining sales and reduced industry support was forcing him to question whether continuing was worth the personal and financial cost. The situation became even more complicated in August 2019, when fans discovered that Joe's voice had been replaced by Trey Songz on the theme song for the final season of the popular TV show Power. Joe had performed the theme song for the show's previous seasons, and fans were outraged by the change, flooding social media with complaints and demands for the original version to be restored. The show's creator, rapper 50 Cent, posted a video on Instagram explaining that Trey Songz had performed the new version as a favor to him. However, 50 Cent also expressed visible annoyance and confusion at the backlash, claiming that people hadn't bought a Joe CD in years.
He's talking about Trey Songz. Man, you ain't bought a Joe CD in years. Now you talking about Trey Songz. Trey did that as a favor for me, man.
This public dismissal of Joe's continued relevance stung both the artist and his fans, highlighting the industry's tendency to discard veteran artists in favor of newer, more commercially viable options. Throughout 2019, Joe continued to perform both stateside and internationally, maintaining his connection with fans who still appreciated his timeless R&B classics. However, the last post on his Instagram account was from December of that year, and as the worldwide pandemic began in 2020, Joe seemed to retreat from public view entirely. The silence that followed raised questions about Joe's future in music and his overall well-being. Had the industry politics, declining sales, and public dismissals finally convinced him to step away permanently? Or was he simply taking time to reassess his options and plan his next move? What's clear is that Joe's story represents a larger narrative about the music industry's treatment of veteran artists who refuse to compromise their artistic integrity for commercial success. His journey from gospel-singing church boy to R&B star to independent artist reflects the challenges faced by many musicians who prioritize authenticity over industry politics. In February 2020, there was a glimmer of hope when actor and singer Tyrese announced on Instagram that he and Joe would be creating a joint EP together. However, Joe never confirmed this collaboration on his own platforms, and no further news emerged about the project, leaving fans to wonder if it would ever materialize. As we look back on Joe's career, it becomes clear that what happened to him wasn't just about alleged industry sabotage or declining sales numbers. It was about an artist who chose to maintain his integrity in an industry that often rewards compromise over authenticity. His story serves as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration, showing that while staying true to your artistic vision may come with costs, it also preserves something invaluable, your soul as an artist. The question now is whether Joe will find a way to return to music on his own terms, or if the price of authenticity has finally become too high to pay. Whatever he decides, his legacy as one of R&B's most genuine voices remains secure, and his influence on the genre will continue to inspire future generations of artists who face similar crossroads in their own careers. Joe Thomas may have stepped back from the spotlight, but his music continues to resonate with fans who value substance over style and artistry over industry politics. In a world where authenticity is increasingly rare, Joe's commitment to his principles makes him not just an R&B legend, but a symbol of what it means to stay true to yourself, regardless of the consequences. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.